What if I told you that right now, at this very moment, someone weaker, less talented, and far less intelligent than you is winning, simply because they appear more certain? They don't hesitate. They don't wait for permission. They don't second-guess themselves. And because of that, the world bends to them. Meanwhile, you smarter, more capable, perhaps even more deserving, are left waiting. Waiting for the right words, the right timing, the perfect feeling. And as you wait, someone else takes what should have been yours. This is not an accident. It is not fate. It is a law of human psychology that has been operating long before you and I were born. People don't follow truth. They follow conviction. They don't care who is the most qualified. They care who looks like they belong in power. And here is the part that should make you uncomfortable. You have probably lost more opportunities than you even realize. Not because you lacked ability, but because you lacked certainty. Think back for a moment. How many times did you stay silent in a meeting while someone with far less knowledge spoke with confidence and walked away with the recognition? How many times did you water down your words, soften your tone, or apologize before you even began speaking, only to watch others dominate the space you should have owned? This is not about intelligence. This is about presence. It is about the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you decide. Confidence, when understood correctly, is not a trait. It is not about being extroverted, loud, or naturally charismatic. Confidence is a weapon. And like every weapon, if you don't wield it, someone else will use it against you. This video is not here to motivate you with cliches or give you shallow affirmations. It is here to confront you with a choice: remain a servant to hesitation, or step into the role of ruler that was always waiting for you. Because once you understand this truth, you will never see yourself or the people around you the same way again. Before we dive deeper, take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. That way, you'll be the first to know when I release the next piece of content that challenges you, awakens you, and gives you the tools to dominate, not just survive in a world that rewards certainty over talent. Have you noticed how often you apologize before even speaking? How many times have you caught yourself saying, "I'm sorry, but," or "I could be wrong, but," before sharing a thought you know has value? That small reflex, that nervous tick, is not politeness. It is a submission. It is the mark of what I call the inner servant, the silent, invisible voice inside you that keeps you small, hesitant, and dependent on permission. You were not born this way. No child comes into the world apologizing for existing. The infant does not ask for approval before it cries. The toddler does not hesitate before it reaches for what it wants. Confidence is your original state. But over time, society begins to tame you. Parents scold, teachers demand obedience, and peers ridicule mistakes. Slowly, you learn a dangerous lesson: that it is safer to shrink than to be seen. And so, brick by brick, the inner servant is built inside of you. It whispers in your ear every time you're about to take a risk. Don't say that. Don't stand out. Don't be too much. Wait for the right moment. But here's the truth: it never becomes the right moment. And while you wait, someone else, bolder but not better, takes what you were meant to claim. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That inner servant is exactly what Jung was warning about. It is not who you truly are. It is a program installed through repetition, through rules, through rewards and punishments that conditions you to flinch, to obey, to seek approval at all costs. You think you are being kind, polite, and respectful. But in reality, you are bowing, handing over your power before anyone asks for it. Look around you in daily life. The man who hesitates before speaking gets interrupted. The woman who nervously laughs while making a point is dismissed. The worker who always says yes, who always tries to please, becomes invisible, forgettable, replaceable. Not because they lack value, but because their inner servant convinces them to act like they have none. And this is why you suffer. Because deep down, you know you were not made to serve. There is a part of you, the ruler within, that remembers what it feels like to move without hesitation, to speak without apology, to enter a room as if you belonged there without question. But that part has been buried, suffocated by years of conditioning. Every time you bite your tongue, every time you shrink your presence, every time you trade authenticity for approval, you tighten the chains around yourself. Now let's expose the servant more directly. Think about the moments you wanted to raise your hand, share your idea, or make your move. What happened? A voice arose inside. What if they laugh? What if you're wrong? What if you fail? That voice is not you. It is the echo of teachers who told you to sit quietly. It is the residue of parents who demanded perfection. It is the ghost of peers who mocked you for daring to stand out. You have mistaken those voices for your own. The inner servant thrives on hesitation. It thrives on your need to be liked. It thrives every time you lower your eyes, soften your tone, or explain yourself when no explanation was needed. And worst of all, it convinces you that all of this is normal, that being agreeable, being nice, being endlessly available will eventually lead to respect. But ask yourself, has it? Has constant politeness made you powerful? Has apologizing made people listen to you? Or has it only made you invisible? The servant does not protect you. It weakens you. It convinces you to hand over your dignity in exchange for scraps of approval. And as long as you let it live inside of you, you will never taste real freedom. You will live at the mercy of others, dependent on their validation, their acceptance, their recognition. But here is the awakening. The servant can be killed. And once it is gone, what rises in its place is not cruelty, not arrogance, but authority. A presence that no longer begs, no longer apologizes, no longer waits to be chosen. A presence that chooses itself. In the next part, we will turn to Machiavelli, the thinker who dared to say out loud what most are too afraid to admit, that nice men do not rule, they serve. And until you face this truth, the servant inside you will keep winning. But once you see it for what it is, you gain the power to destroy it. Niccolò Machiavelli has been called many things: a cynic, a manipulator, even the devil's apprentice. But behind the controversy lies a man who understood a truth so sharp, so uncomfortable, that most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid it. He wrote, "Men should either be treated generously or destroyed, because they take revenge for slight injuries, but not for ones too severe." Now at first glance, this sounds ruthless. But pause for a moment and think beyond politics and war. What Machiavelli was pointing to is the raw reality of human nature. People do not respect half measures. They do not follow weakness. They do not obey those who try to be nice to everyone. Nice men, in his eyes, were not virtuous. They were tools, easily used, easily discarded. You've seen this play out countless times. The nice guy at work who bends over backward for everyone, always agreeable, always available, does he rise to leadership? Rarely. The nice guy in relationships who never asserts boundaries, who tries to buy affection with kindness, does he end up respected? Almost never. Instead, it is often the one who sets firm limits, who exudes certainty, who dares to be disliked, that commands both fear and respect. Machiavelli's world was one of royal courts, betrayal, and constant struggle for power. But human nature hasn't changed. In every office, every relationship, every social circle, the same dynamics apply. The world does not bend to the most intelligent or the most talented. It bends to those who act as if bending is inevitable. And here lies the harsh reality. The more you seek to be loved, the more you open yourself to being controlled. Think about it. When you are desperate for approval, people sense it. They sense your hunger, your need, your willingness to compromise yourself just to be accepted. And once they sense it, they can manipulate it. They can use your eagerness against you. A compliment becomes a leash. Silence becomes a punishment. An insult becomes a chain to pull you wherever they want. And like Machiavelli warned, those who allow themselves to be predictable, who allow themselves to be ruled by the desire to be liked, end up serving those with stronger wills. This is why Machiavelli's wisdom feels dangerous. It strips away the illusion of fairness. We want to believe that being good, being polite, being endlessly kind will one day pay off. But history, psychology, and daily life tell a different story. People respect boundaries, strength, and certainty, not availability, compliance, or apologetic words. But here is where you must be careful. Machiavelli was not celebrating cruelty for its own sake. He wasn't saying, be evil. He was saying, be decisive. Do not wound halfway. Do not negotiate with weakness. Do not live your life trying to balance on the fragile edge of being liked by everyone. Because in the end, the man who chases universal approval loses both power and self-respect. So ask yourself honestly, how much of your life has been wasted trying to be nice? How many times have you silenced yourself so others wouldn't feel uncomfortable? How many times have you bent your will, softened your truth, or betrayed your own standards just so people would think well of you? And what did it bring you, respect or invisibility? Machiavelli forces us to face this brutal wisdom. To be overly nice is not noble, it is weak. And the weak are not free, they are managed, controlled, and discarded when no longer useful. If you want power, not just over others, but over your own destiny, you must abandon the illusion that kindness alone will protect you. Kindness without strength is nothing but weakness in disguise, and this is where your transformation begins. By inverting the reflexes that keep you small, by turning hesitation into action, apology into silence, retreat into presence. This is the inversion principle, and once you practice it, the servant within you begins to die, and the ruler awakens. Every one of us has been trained from childhood to obey, to ask permission, to seek approval. The reflex is so deeply embedded that you hardly notice it anymore. You hesitate before speaking. You explain when no one asked. You shrink your presence when the room gets tense. These are not harmless habits, they are chains. And as long as you keep obeying them, the inner servant survives. The way out is not motivation. It's not another affirmation in the mirror. It's inversion, the conscious act of doing the exact opposite of what the servant inside you demands. Every time you feel the instinct to shrink, you expand. Every time you feel the pull to explain, you pause. Every time you want to apologize for existing, you stand taller, take up more space, and let silence carry the weight of your presence. This is not a theory, it's practice. Imagine you're in a meeting. Someone challenges your idea. The inner servant wants to rush in with an explanation, to soften your tone, to prove yourself. Instead, invert the reflex. Stop. Breathe. Hold silence for a beat too long. Look directly at them, calmly, without flinching. And then speak slowly, firmly, as if your words are not suggestions but decisions. Suddenly, the power dynamic shifts. You're no longer defending, you're commanding. The principle is simple. When the world expects you to shrink, you expand. When they expect weakness, you give them weight. When they expect a quick, nervous answer, you give them calm, deliberate finality. This disorients people. Why? Because most humans are predictable. They react exactly as they've been programmed. They explain, they justify, they fill silence with nervous words. The one who refuses to play that game becomes untouchable. Your body becomes the first battlefield. Walk faster when your instinct is to hesitate. Sit upright when you feel the urge to disappear into the background. Stop nodding endlessly just to show agreement. Every nod, every nervous laugh, every filler word is a leak in your power. Patch the leaks by refusing to indulge them. Your voice is the second battlefield. Lower your pitch. Slow your tempo. Remove the nervous maybe, and I think that weaken your sentences. Speak like every word is the end of the sentence, not the beginning of an explanation. Don't say, I'm just saying, maybe we could try this. Say, "This is the direction we're going." Let the silence afterward do the work for you. People fear silence more than they fear words. And if you can hold it, they will bend to it. Your mind is the final battlefield. The servant thrives on overthinking, on asking, "What if they don't like me? What if I'm wrong? What if they reject me?" The inversion principle burns this reflex at the root. You stop asking, "Will they accept me?" and start asking, "Do I even accept them?" You stop thinking, "What if I fail?" and start thinking, "What happens if I never try?" You turn the fear outward, using it as fuel, not as a chain. Understand this. Inversion is not arrogance. It's not about being loud, aggressive, or rude. It's about training your nervous system to stop serving weakness, to stop leaking power in 1,000 small ways, to stop bowing to the inner servant that keeps you apologizing for existing. The more you practice inversion, the more the world begins to treat you differently. People who once ignored you start paying attention. People who once challenged you now hesitate before speaking. Not because you've changed what you know, but because you've changed how you carry what you know. And that shift from servant reflex to ruler presence is the beginning of dominance. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. The rulers of his time weren't always the kings. Sometimes they were the quiet men in the corner, the ones who spoke rarely, but with such finality that the entire court leaned in. Power was not in constant noise, it was in deliberate presence. And with inversion, you can reclaim it. In the next part, we go deeper. Because it's not enough to practice inversion. You must go further. You must kill the servant entirely. Only then does the ruler within you rise, not as a mask, but as your true identity. There comes a moment in every transformation when practice must give way to identity. You can experiment with posture, with silence, with deliberate speech. But until the inner servant dies, you will always revert to hesitation under pressure. This is why true confidence, dangerous, undeniable confidence, is not a mindset, it is a rebirth. A death followed by an awakening. The servant inside you has lived for years. It has worn your skin, borrowed your voice, dictated your choices. It has convinced you that safety lies in submission, that belonging is earned by apology, that value comes from pleasing others. But look at the results. Exhaustion, invisibility, resentment. You give and give, only to be overlooked, forgotten, replaced. The servant promises peace, but it delivers slavery. Killing the servant does not mean becoming cruel. It means severing the invisible strings that others have been pulling for years. It means refusing to be emotionally predictable, refusing to flinch when insulted, refusing to melt when praised, refusing to chase when ignored. Because the moment you stop reacting like a puppet, people realize they no longer control you. That realization terrifies them, and it liberates you. The ruler rises in that space of silence. The ruler does not rush. He observes. He calculates. He decides. His authority is not loud, it is gravitational. He does not demand attention. He creates an atmosphere where attention bends toward him. The servant waits to be chosen. The ruler chooses himself. The servant begs to be understood. The ruler speaks as if understanding is inevitable. Think about the difference. A servant walks into a room scanning for approval. Who's smiling? Who's frowning? Who seems interested? A ruler walks into the same room and does not scan at all. He owns the room with his stillness, his presence, his refusal to be hurried. A servant explains every word, softens every edge, overshares to fill the silence. A ruler speaks briefly, decisively, and lets silence make the words heavier. A servant fears rejection. A ruler reframes rejection as clarity. If they do not value him, they were never worthy of access. This is what I call becoming unreachable. Not emotionless, you still feel everything, but uncheckable. No compliment lifts you too high, no insult drags you too low. You stand immovable, because your worth is no longer outsourced to others. It is chosen, claimed, and embodied. And once you embody it, others cannot take it away. The transformation is internal before it is external. You stop seeking evidence of your value in other people's reactions. You stop performing kindness in hopes of being rewarded. You stop apologizing for being in the room. Instead, you begin to move as if your presence itself is the evidence, as if your words themselves are the standard. The servant begs, "Please notice me." The ruler commands, "You cannot ignore me." Carl Jung warned that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. The servant is a mask, a conditioned persona built for approval. The ruler is your true self, the one who does not ask, does not flinch, does not serve anyone's expectations but his own. And once you awaken that ruler, the world adjusts. People begin to listen differently. They measure themselves against your certainty. They question themselves in your silence. This is not fantasy, it is psychology. And it is available to you the moment you stop negotiating with the servant and start living as the ruler. Because once the servant is dead, hesitation dies with it, and in its place, authority is born. In the final part, we will bring this journey to its conclusion. You will see that confidence is not decoration, not a performance to impress others, but the very essence of dominance. And when you no longer need approval, when you no longer wait to be chosen, you become unforgettable. Confidence isn't decoration. It isn't a smile you wear in photographs or a motivational mantra you whisper before a meeting. Real confidence is dominance. It is the invisible gravity that makes people adjust themselves around you without you saying a word. And here's the liberating truth. Once you no longer need approval, you become unforgettable. Think of every moment in your life when you felt overlooked, underestimated, or dismissed. Now imagine walking into those same rooms, not begging to be chosen, but deciding that you are the standard. Imagine speaking without rising tones, without nervous filler, without apology, just calm, deliberate certainty. Imagine people pausing before they respond, recalibrating their energy to match yours, because your presence leaves them no other option. That is the power of dangerous confidence. But remember, this transformation is not about arrogance. It is not about trying to dominate others for the sake of ego. It is about reclaiming authority over yourself. It is about killing the servant that hesitates, apologizes, and flinches, so the ruler within you can rise. Because until you master yourself, you will always be managed by others. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Nice men are useful, but never powerful. And you must decide which you want to be. Will you keep softening your voice, shrinking your presence, begging for scraps of validation? Or will you become the kind of man or woman who no longer asks, no longer waits, no longer bends? Stop waiting to be chosen. Become the standard. From today forward, you don't ask, you decide. From today forward, you stop living as a servant to hesitation and awaken as a ruler of your own identity. Because the world does not remember those who blend in. It remembers those who bend reality by their very presence. And that presence is now yours to claim. This is your moment of awakening. You are not here to fit in. You are here to move the pieces, to shape the rules, to redefine the outcome. You are not a beggar for approval. You are the authority others measure themselves against. And once you embody that truth, no one can forget you. Because legends do not announce themselves. They arrive, silent, untouchable. Before you go, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next awakening message I release. And I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below with the lesson that struck you the hardest. Was it the death of the inner servant, the wisdom of Machiavelli, or the practice of inversion? Your reflection might just be the spark that awakens someone else.